This is a CBC podcast.
Hi, I'm Anastasia Busas. I am a two-time Olympic speed skater. My whole life, I have been surrounded by athletes, and every one of them has a story that a scoreboard will never capture.
It's not an easy thing to be with an athlete.
I don't understand why they're making fun of me because I like to figure skate.
Player's Own Voice is all about the person inside the performance.
When you're so in it, I think perhaps we're the people that understand it the least.
Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts.
Danse, Anine, Bonjour, hello and welcome. This is Unreserved on CBC Radio 1. I'm Rosanna Deerchild. A few months ago, I visited Iqaluit, Nunavut, and I caught up with the super group, the Jerry Cans. The band is from Iqaluit, and they met me at the Inuksuk High School, which is where I hung out with the band. First up, checking out their old high school photos that line the wall of the cafeteria.
Man, this is bringing me back. Trying to remember.
So this is you in grade 9. Is this grade 9 or grade 10?
This would be great. These guys. That's dope.
That's grade 12.
There's Andrew in 12.
And Nancy is...
Oh, here. Oh, there you are. Your
grade
Gap.
11.
Your little
my
Gap.
God.
Your Gap sweater. And this is you. Who's this?
That's me.
Oh,
That's
look
Andrew.
at your hair. Look at Andrew's hair. That's
I
hilarious.
must have.
Oh, in here.
Oh, right there.
Yeah.
Oh, because you have that really sour look on your face. Yeah. That's great. I don't know
I
if you were...
became a little cooler in that one.
A little too cool, I think.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm too cool for school. Today on Unreserved, the Jerry Cans on their humble origins in Iqaluit and how they are influencing the next generation of up-and-coming Inuit musicians. I'm here with some of the Cans, the Jerrys, at Inuksuk High School, where they went to school in their hometown of Iqaluit, Nunavut. I'm here with Nancy Mike. She plays the accordion and she throat sings. And Brendan Doherty, also known as Dotes. And Gina Burgess, who plays violin. And also Steve Rigby, who plays the drums and is the party leader, I understand. We'll get into that a little bit later. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming. Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Now, this is a bit weird because we're in a stairwell of your high school, and I can say that I've never done an interview in the stairwell of a high school before, so this is off my bucket list.
It's like walking down memory lane here, for sure, yeah.
How does it feel walking down into your high school?
It's hitting some, little heart feelings. First boyfriends, maybe. But good memories, yeah.
Oh, it's great. I love it. So many memories here. Like our high school was very supportive of a lot of the things we did when we were growing up. So, yeah, just looking at all and seeing how it's changed and evolved. A lot of great positive changes from just walking in the hallway. So, yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, we're sitting in front of our old high school music room right now where I learned how to play the bass. We played in a high school jazz band. So I played Louie Louie a million times in there. And yeah, after school we'd sneak in and play Foo Fighters when the teacher was gone with Steve and some other friends. Definitely walked down memory lane, absolutely.
That's so cool that you have all these memories together. So I guess the big question would be, how did you become the Jerry Cans? I understand there's a legion involved somewhere.
Actually, the three guys, Dotes, Steve, and Andrew, started a band called the Jerry Cans, and they played some tunes, some cover bands, a lot of cover, mostly in English. And the Legion was one of the only venues here in Iqaluit, and that's where they kind of started off playing just for the love of music, live music for whoever was at the Legion. Then I joined, I guess, I want to say a year or two later, and that's when we kind of started singing in Inuktitut and kind of changed up the scene a little bit. People seem to love it, and the Legion has like majority Inuit members or regulars that go there, and they just loved hearing Inuktitut. It hadn't been something that was done probably since Iqaluit band was started up, and so people loved it, and we kept on doing it since.
How did you decide that you were going to start singing in Inuktitut and also include throat singing and then accordion and then bass, and then all of this crazy mix happened, and it was magic. Like, what compelled you to do such a thing?
I think that Northern music, especially across Nunavut, Scottish music has been around for so long, like since the Scottish Whalers influenced our lifestyle back in the 1800s. And accordion was something that so many women knew how to play it that are probably 2 generations before me. And then men picked it up afterwards. And then so I learned it from my best friend's dad, and I was probably 14 years old when I learned to play the accordion. So that's the only instrument I knew how to play, so I kind of incorporated it into the music. The reason why I want to say we sang in Inuktitut was because people loved it, but also because I personally have a passion for my own language, and that's the best I can express. It's my mother tongue, and I want to use it as much as I can. And
when we first started playing, it was literally like Metallica and Ozzy Osbourne and Guns N' Roses and all these songs, and people were coming out and really kind of more just being supportive for us. So it was a lot of people clapping politely and like being like, well, way to go, guys, you learned an instrument. Whereas when we actually started singing in Inuktitut, once, Nancy brought in the accordion, and that was sort of missing during that time, not mostly because just, generations changed, like the bands that were playing were getting older and, and stopped playing as much. And then there was just a bit of a gap. And when we started to play it, we all kind of realized how much everybody missed it and how huge a part of the community it was to have square dancing and to have like Inuktitut music being played. When we focus more about, what does the community want more than what kind of rock stars do we want to be, like kind of, step back a little bit and see what's better for the community. And it was just kind of better for everyone. We loved it more, they loved it more, and it just kind of grew from there. Yeah.
How long did it take you to find that groove, though, that sound, that beautiful sound that everybody so much loves?
I'm not really sure, but one thing I could say is that it happens really organically up here. Like when we started out, Steve started playing drums because he was filling the void of there's no other drummer in town. So Steve starts playing, and when we were playing, and when we were doing our little blues rock cover thing, the 3 guys, Nancy was in another group called Kuluvak with Kathleen Merritt, and we were going to the same shows. We played in Rankin Inlet together, and it just kind of made sense. Like Nancy was around us, we were hanging out. She starts jamming with us. Gina was up for a music camp, and we just grabbed her for a show. And it worked out. She was a fiddler who was down for jamming at the Legion. She did. And we just said, you're never leaving. Like, we're going to keep you. So it's just really organic and really collaborative here. We're in a small community. There's not a million bass players. Like, there's a handful of us. There's a few drummers. I mean, there's actually quite a lot of talented accordion players, but we just happen to have some of the best ones.
Yeah.
I think some of it just happens out of necessity and out of having, like, a really tight group of musicians who are all supporting each other. So like all of our groups ebb and flow with different members coming in and out to support each other. So it's very cool and very organic.
This is Unreserved on CBC Radio 1, Sirius XM 169, and Native Voice 1. I'm Rosanna Deerchild, hanging out with Iqaluit band the Jerry Cans in their former high school on the show today. Hopefully the principal won't catch us. Now, your sound is a mix of, I don't even know what you would call it, roots rock, traditional Inuit, throat singing music, as you said, the Scottish influence, and there's Inuktitut and English. Did you come up to any resistance from people who heard your sound, or has it all been sort of supportive and lovely singing along?
I think that times change, society evolves, and we've had some people who weren't happy with, Andrew being a white person singing Inuktitut, and we've come across that a few times, and it is something that I try to listen to and feel the energies, and try to figure out, like, how can we make this balance out in the way that, we do it in the right way or the right energies. So when we come across those, we kind of reassess and talk as a band and say, what do we do? Like, how do we make sure that we don't make mistakes or what not? But majority of the time, I think it's really positive because we're singing in my language, and I think that's something that we're all really proud of. And throughout the times change or whatnot, it's always a conversation. It's always, we're trying to constantly make the best of it.
It's sort of a constantly changing, evolving sound. Did you all have to learn Inuktitut, or is it just some of the band members?
Growing up, there wasn't really a Inuktitut curriculum in high school at all. I don't even know if there is now. So it's the amount that we've learned is, just from being in the community and talking to people, but no one's ever forced us. I would love to, learn more and create more opportunities to strengthen that. It's been difficult. I've probably lost a bit of Inuktitut by having to tour down south so much. When I was working, I'd be spending time in the communities where it's a lot stronger because everybody's using it and speaking it all the time. So when you're not speaking what little you know, then you start to lose it a bit. So it's been a bit tricky, yeah.
I want to just hop over to hear Gina, because they said that they never let you leave. What attracted you to want to be a Jerry Can?
The personnel. They're all my buddies and friends. And the music. Yeah, and where the music's actually coming from, what we're trying to do. It's definitely evolved. I mean, we're almost finished our 4th album, and it's quite different from the first. And it's been really incredible to watch us as individuals grow and change, but also the community up here, the communities down south, and globally as well.
Now, the first time that a lot of people, mainstream Canada, saw you, of course we knew about you forever, was when you played the Juno Awards in 2018. I remember watching that, getting teary-eyed and having the feels. So when you were getting ready for that performance, did you think about how many people you were going to be watching you and listening?
I was well aware that there were going to be so many people watching it, and I was nervous but also really excited and felt the love from all over the world. And we were all teary-eyed too. Actually, we cried, and it just felt so special. We could feel our community just coming together to show us support and love, and that was cool.
Now, a lot of people might not think of Iqaluit as a hotbed of music, but just in our short little time here, we've heard rappers, or throat boxing, is that what it was called? Throat beatboxing, and we've heard you guys, and it's just been in such an amazing mix. And a few years ago, you launched Iqaluit Music, Nunavut's first record label. What made you want to start a label?
Part of it was that we ran into a lot of challenges being a band based in Nunavut, and try to release our music across Canada and tour across Canada, and even tour in our own territory. Challenges in terms of getting funding to do that, getting our music on the radio when it's not in English, which is, it dominates the radio waves generally, except for your show, which is great.
Thanks, man.
And we wanted to share some of the knowledge that we gained, help people apply for funding, get their music on the radio, just do all the things that we had the privilege of doing. And we didn't want people to have to make the same mistakes we did, because we made a bunch of them. Like, we've been in this game for 6 or 7 years. We've learned so much, and we just wanted to share that with the community that supported us from day one. So that's been the goal. And we're good friends with everyone on the label. We're good friends with most of the musicians in this territory, just because everybody supports each other. And this label is just an extension of that, just support.
So how do you choose an Iqaluit artist?
There's kind of usually just a vibe. There's just, there'll be an artist who's up and coming and really hardworking and really getting their music out there, and a really talented artist. So I don't think there's lots of rejections. I think it's usually just like, if there's someone serious about working, that we try and help the best that we can. So, yeah.
So it's kind of like your house, Steve, which I've heard some tales about.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's a lovely home, open door, Iqaluit style. Everybody's welcome, and yeah, there's been a lot of music played there. We recorded most of our first album there, like in my back bedroom, and we actually wrote a bunch of our second album there as well. Yeah, it's also been a spot where we've hosted shows. Last year during Nunavut Music Week, we had 2 nights of showcases, and on the second night there was a blizzard and shut down the entire town, which would have canceled everything. So it was one of our big nights too, and instead of just saying that's it's broken, we decided to rally in the blizzard to turn the house into a venue. And then we went around and picked up delegates by skidoo and put them in the chamutik and brought them over. And my buddy Tom in his big, massive truck, which was totally safe to drive in, was going and picking up people. And it was one of those cool moments where you saw the community, because everybody arrived together and everybody left together as well. So as much as you want to have a good time, you still got to respect the weather and respect the elements, and everybody was looking out for each other, and I feel like it has a spirit of its own. I'm just the one living in it.
That sounds crazy. Did you survive the party?
I did. Yep. Yeah, it was a great time. Mm-hmm.
Now, what are you hearing from music festivals and promoters now that your acts and other acts that you support are being heard outside of this territory? What is some of the feedback that you're hearing?
I think the feedback's mostly from the audience, from the crowd. There's a lot of people that will come up to artists and come up, or at least what our experience when we were out there too, is that people were just unaware that Nunavut existed, let alone there were artists from there, you know? So there's a lot of that, and I think people are just kind of blown away because it's music that they've never heard before, and there'll be elements to it that they would never have access to. So I think in this world where everybody is looking for new music and looking for something new to connect, it's been awesome because now people are looking outside of their own culture or their own place. It's still not just, you know, 4 white guys in a band. Like, you know, it's like there are so many other stories and so many other cultures and so many other things that when people have access to real new music, like not just another new rock band or another new indie band, which are great and awesome, but like something that's actually new, that's actually pushing the boundaries of music, I think people are very responsive, positive response to it. It's been really cool to see how much the world is ready for something new.
This is CBC Radio 1, Sirius XM 169, and Native Voice 1. I'm Rosanna Deerchild, hanging out with the Jerry Cans at their high school. We're skipping school in their hometown of Iqaluit today. So as I mentioned, this is your home base. You've started a record label here. You help promote other acts. You still play at the Legion, which is cool. I hear it's wing night tonight, by the way. Did you ever consider moving south?
Not me.
Not me. Nope, never.
I bounce around.
Dotes is a global citizen. He's never really moved anywhere. He's just from here.
I go couch to couch, so I mean...
Whoever's couch is full is not full.
Yeah.
I was saying how, like, I love the country food so much, Inuktitut, that I could never leave it. That's my way of healing and my way of, you know, growing, whatever it may be. So I have to stay home for that reason.
For you, it's, you know, the food, the people, the culture. This is who you are. But what about for the rest of you? What makes Iqaluit home for you?
The food, the people. No. Yeah, no. Everything that has been a positive in my life has been a result of growing up in this community. The people are some of the most hilarious people I've ever met. The friendships that you make are just bonds that you'll have forever. The land is the most beautiful. Like this time of year, I'm fortunate enough that I've been able to travel all over the world, and there's literally not one place in the world that I would rather be this time of year than Iqaluit. So my love for the town, the community, and the land, it's what makes me feel home. I love visiting and exploring new places and meeting new people, but I don't love anything more than my town and my friends and family. Yeah.
It's a really beautiful thing that in other places, in big cities, people have to go to a high school reunion every 10 years to see people they grew up with. We have it every weekend. I can go over to a friend's house and half the graduating class is there. Like it's so beautiful that we've maintained friendships since we were 5 years old. Like I met Steve when I was 5 years old. I met Nancy when I was, 14. And like we're still best buddies now, and we will be forever. And that's testament to the bonds you build in a small territory and a small community that are so tight and they'll never sever.
What about for you, Gina?
Because I didn't grow up here and I don't have the bonds as tight as these guys are talking about, what brought me up here was music and teaching violin. And so for me, there's really incredible opportunities for me to learn and grow through teaching music up here. And so, I mean, I can teach violin back in Nova Scotia. There's so many violin teachers in Nova Scotia. But in Nunavut, there's not so many violin teachers, and there's still just as many kids who want to learn how to play violin. So being able to be up here already and starting to network in these other communities, like we have fiddle players in Pang and Iqaluit, and Cape Dorset wants to start a fiddle community there. You know, so like the desire is there, and so much more so than in the South, because there's so many other things going on already in the South, but these kids are really wanting to do it. They have the drive and they have the determination. For me, it's opportunities like that that I just wouldn't have back home. When I first came up here, our very first music camp was in Panaktu, and some of those kids are now musicians on Iqaluit music. Yeah. Wow. They're winning awards, CBC Music Awards. They're playing in competitions all around the world. And that was, 8 years ago. So in 8 years, I've seen these kids who were little kids then, now on like the international world stage, making music for other people. So that brings so much joy to me, brings tears to my eyes, and just knowing that that was only one music camp, one summer in particular, you know, but just that's a drop in a very big bucket, and it's happening all over with music and arts and all kinds of things, sciences, all of that.
I know that Inuktitut is the dominant language here. What role can music play in keeping your language vibrant?
One thing I know for sure is that it doesn't matter if your crowd is mostly Inuit or not. Like, there's always that crowd that just sings along to music, even though it's in Inuktitut. It's where, like, all the uncomfortableness of pronouncing it wrong is taken away. It's like, doesn't exist anymore. So people just say it and sing it along with us. And
you should try and hear Dote sing English songs.
I won't do that to your fans.
So I think that it's really good in the way we practice. But not only that, like if we're using old words that may not always be used in just a daily conversational, these words are being recorded and kept, and you can always be reminded of them while listening to music. So it's very powerful in a lot of different ways. Also, when you see children so proud to sing or even speak Inuktitut because they heard the Jerry Cans or, you know, Northern Haze or these other bands that sing in Inuktitut as well, I think that when you see a young person proud to speak their own language, it becomes like, yes, they're going to continue and want to speak their language. So
you also do throat singing in the music. Did you ever come up across any challenges in terms of putting that very ancient skill in contemporary music?
I haven't really come across it, probably because, you know, we are at a time where everyone's just so supportive of keeping these things alive, and I'm my own individual. Like, if I create something that's more contemporary, I often say it's throat singing, but it's not necessarily Inuit throat singing, because if I'm doing traditional throat singing, of course it is, I can consider it Inuit throat singing, but not necessarily because I'm Inuk, but because I'm singing songs that have been passed down from generation to the next for many, many years. So I think that's an important message to always keep in mind, is that you can throat sing, but it doesn't have to be Inuit throat singing.
I'm here with the Jerry Cans. We're canning it up in their old high school. This is Unreserved on CBC Radio 1, Sirius XM 169, and Native Voice 1. I'm Rosanna Deerchild, coming at you from Iqaluit. Well, you guys, we're almost at the end of our time together. I feel like it just flew by, but somebody mentioned a new album coming out. What is the future of the Jerry Cans? Where are we going from here?
Yeah, well, I guess right now we recorded an album in Montreal with Jay Slasic at Break Glass Studios, and it's a total kind of departure from our original style. So right now, these days, we're going to be listening to the recordings, listening to the music, and just sort of trying to create something new and interesting for everybody else. Yeah,
we've been exploring some new sonic landscapes. Like, Nancy's been doing some interesting things with some different guitar pedals. It's been amazing to see her just explore this new range of what she can do as a human with her voice, and it's been a really beautiful process. So we hope everyone likes it, and we still have a little while to go before we release it, and we're going to be tweaking it, but yeah, it's been really fun.
What, heavy metal accordion, or what's going on there?
Maybe heavy metal throat singing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good change for us, and we're evolving. Like we say, I think evolve is our theme right now, but I'm really excited for this one. Yeah.
Well, we're all excited to hear it. I can't wait to hear it. Thank you so much for spending time with me in your high school.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Playing to me.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Gina Burgess, Nancy Mike, Brendan Doherty, also known as Dotes, and Steve Rigby, the Jerry Cans. Thanks, y'all. Thank you. Let's get out of here before the principal finds us. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Unreserved. We'll be back in this radio space next week for more community, culture, and conversation. This episode was produced by Stephanie Cram, Kyle Musica, Zoe Tennant, and Anna Lazowski. I'm your favorite cousin, Rosanna Deerchild, coming at you from Inuksuk High School in Iqaluit, Nunavut. Thank you for listening to Unreserved on CBC Radio 1. Agosay.
For more CBC podcasts, go to cbc.ca/podcasts.